At my son's funeral, she whispered, "Get out. The 55 million was mine. I'm David Johnson, and I had just buried my only child." What Amanda didn't know was that the modest old man in the thrift store suit had built the entire tech empire she was trying to steal. She saw a broke retiree who drove a 15-year-old Honda. I saw a woman who had no idea she was about to lose everything. The board meeting 3 days later would change our lives forever. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I simply walked away, knowing that sometimes the most devastating response is patience. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to know how many of you have ever been underestimated. But to understand how we got here, I need to take you back to where it all began and show you exactly what happens when respect must be earned the hard way. The first sign Amanda saw me as nothing came 2 weeks before Michael's accident. I was visiting their Palo Alto house, the $2.3 million smart home with the Tesla in the driveway. Amanda opened the door wearing a $350 manicure and a look of pure annoyance. "Oh, it's you." She didn't step aside. "Michael's not here." "I know. I came to see my grandson." "He's napping." She finally moved, but barely. "You know, David, we've been talking about your situation. My situation. I was standing there in my Goodwill polo shirt, $3.99, still had the tag when I bought it, and my Walmart jeans. My 2007 Honda Civic sat in their circular driveway like a rust stain on marble. What situation would that be? Living in that studio apartment, $1,200 a month in East Palo Alto." She said it like I had a disease. "It's just, Michael feels responsible. You're his father. He thinks he should be helping you more." The irony was suffocating, but I kept my voice level. "I'm managing fine." "Are you?" She looked at my Honda again. 286,000 miles, David. The driver's seat is held together with duct tape." She wasn't wrong. The blue tape was holding the vinyl together where it had split years ago. But that car had been paid off since 2012. No payments, no stress. It gets me where I need to go. "Where exactly do you need to go? You're retired from—" She paused, realizing she'd never actually asked what I used to do. What was it again? Some factory job? Some factory job. If she only knew. "I worked with my hands," I said, which was true. I'd built my first prototype on my kitchen table. "Right." Her smile was acid. "Well, we're thinking maybe it's time you considered options. Senior living, something more appropriate for someone your age. Someone my age. I was 68, not 90. But in Amanda's world, 68 meant invisible, irrelevant, a burden. The second sign came at Michael's birthday dinner in February. The whole extended family was there. Amanda's parents, her sister, my brother Tom and his wife. Amanda had catered the whole thing. $3,000 of sushi and wine. During dessert, she stood up with her champagne glass. Time for speeches. "I just want to say how grateful I am for Michael," she began. "Building TechBridge Industries from nothing, creating this amazing life for us." She gestured around their dining room with its $85,000 table. "It hasn't been easy, carrying the financial burden while Michael focused on the company, but that's what partnership means. Carrying the financial burden." I almost choked on my sparkling water. Amanda hadn't worked a day since she married Michael 5 years ago. Her idea of financial burden was choosing between the Tesla and the Porsche. But what really stung was what came next. "And of course, we're so blessed to be able to help family when they need it." Her eyes found mine across the table. "It's important to take care of those who can't take care of themselves." The table went quiet. Tom shifted in his seat. Amanda's parents looked uncomfortable. Everyone knew she was talking about me. Michael grabbed her hand. "Amanda." "What?" "I'm just saying we're fortunate to be in a position to help." She squeezed his fingers. "Some people never really amount to anything, and that's okay. We all have different paths. Never really amount to anything." I set down my water glass very carefully. "You're absolutely right, Amanda. We all have different paths." "Exactly." She smiled like she'd won something. "Some people are builders. Some people are not." If she only knew what I had built, what I was still building, what I could take away with a single phone call. But patience, I reminded myself. Sometimes the strongest foundations are laid in silence. 3 days after Michael's funeral, Amanda called a meeting with her lawyer. I knew because she wanted me there. Not as family, as the defendant. We met at the offices of Morrison & Associates downtown. Amanda sat across from me in a $4,000 Armani suit. Black. Appropriate for mourning, inappropriate for everything else she was about to do. Her lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Patricia Morrison, spread documents across the mahogany table like she was dealing cards. "Mr. Johnson, we need to discuss Michael's estate." "I'm listening." "The primary asset is TechBridge Industries, valued at approximately $55 million. Patricia's voice was all business. "Michael owned 33% of the company. That represents his life's work." Amanda leaned forward. "And as his widow, that 33% belongs to me?" I nodded slowly. "I see. There's also the house, the cars, the investment accounts." Michael was very successful. Amanda's fingers drummed on the table. "The total estate is worth approximately $8.2 million, separate from the business." "Congratulations," I said. Patricia cleared her throat. "There is one complication. Michael's will includes some provisions regarding you." "What kind of provisions?" Amanda's jaw tightened. "He left you a small inheritance, $25,000, and visitation rights with Tommy. My grandson, 5 years old, looked just like Michael at that age, the only piece of my son I had left." "Visitation," I repeated. "Supervised visitation," Amanda corrected. "1 afternoon a month, here in California. And if I wanted more time with Tommy?" "That would be up to me." Amanda's smile was pure ice. "As his legal guardian." I could see where this was heading, but I let her say it. "The thing is, David, I've been thinking about our future, Tommy's future, and honestly," she paused for effect, "I think a fresh start would be best for everyone." "What kind of fresh start?" "My sister lives in Connecticut. Great schools, safe neighborhood. Really, it's a better environment for raising a child than Silicon Valley." Connecticut, 3,000 miles away. And my visitation would be difficult to arrange. Patricia shuffled papers. Travel costs, scheduling conflicts. Perhaps we could work out something during holidays? Perhaps, meaning no. I looked at Amanda across that table, watching her destroy the last connection I had to my son, and something crystallized in my mind. This wasn't about money. This was about power. She wanted to prove she could erase me completely. "There's something else," Amanda continued. "The estate has some debts, legal fees, medical bills from Michael's accident, about $600,000. That's unfortunate." "Yes. And since you're listed as a beneficiary, you're partially responsible for those debts." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Patricia slid another document toward me. "California estate law is complex. When estates have outstanding debts, all beneficiaries share responsibility proportionally." "My $25,000 inheritance comes with $600,000 in debt?" "Your portion would be approximately $37,000. Patricia's pen clicked. "Due within 90 days. So Amanda wasn't just taking my grandson. She was sending me a bill for the privilege of losing him. And if I can't pay, we'd have to pursue collection, wage garnishment, asset seizure." Patricia's voice stayed neutral. "Though I understand your assets are limited." Limited. There was that word again. Amanda folded her hands. "Of course, if you were to waive your inheritance and your visitation claims, the debt responsibility would disappear. Clean slate." "How generous." "I'm trying to be fair, David. You're old. You're alone. You live in a $1,200 apartment and drive a car from 2007. Her voice softened into fake sympathy. "Fighting this would just cost you money you don't have. Wouldn't it be easier to let go? Let Tommy grow up without the confusion of a grandfather who can't provide for him?" Can't provide for him. I looked around that conference room. The leather chairs, the wall of law books, the view of downtown San Francisco through floor-to-ceiling windows. Amanda thought she was holding all the cards. She thought she understood the game. She had no idea what game we were actually playing. "I need time to think about this," I said. "Of course." Amanda's smile widened. "Take all the time you need. Just remember, the debt clock is ticking. $37,000 in 90 days. I stood up, shook Patricia's hand, and walked toward the door. At the threshold, I turned back. "Amanda, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "In all the years you knew Michael, did he ever mention how TechBridge Industries got started?" Her brow furrowed. "He built it from scratch. Everyone knows that." "Right, from scratch," I smiled. "I'll be in touch." I walked out of that office knowing exactly what I had to lose if I stayed silent. My grandson, my dignity, and $37,000 I supposedly didn't have. What Amanda didn't know was what she had to lose if I spoke up. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. Amanda was cleaning out Michael's home office when I arrived to pick up his personal belongings. She'd granted me exactly 2 hours to collect anything sentimental. Her words. Like my son's life could be sorted into sentimental and non-sentimental piles. I found her stuffing photo albums into garbage bags. What are you doing? Decluttering. She didn't look up. There's way too much stuff here. Those are family photos. They're taking up space. I'm listing the house next month. I picked up one of the albums. Michael's college graduation. His first apartment. The day TechBridge signed its first major contract. His hands shaking as he held the check for $125,000. You can't throw these away. Watch me. Amanda snatched the album back. Everything here belongs to me now. Those memories belong to Tommy. Tommy's 5. He won't remember any of this. I felt something snap inside my chest. He'll remember his father. Will he? Or will he remember some old man filling his head with stories about Daddy's business? Amanda dropped the album into the bag. Stories that aren't even accurate. What's not accurate? Michael built TechBridge himself, from nothing. You had zero involvement. Is that what he told you? He didn't need to tell me. I was there. Amanda's voice rose. I watched him work 18-hour days. I watched him stress about funding and contracts and hiring. You contributed nothing. 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 She grabbed another album. You were some guy who worked in manufacturing. Michael felt sorry for you. Manufacturing. Don't repeat everything I say. It's annoying. Amanda shoved more photos into the bag. Michael was brilliant, self-made. He didn't get help from anyone. I watched her destroy 26 years of memories and felt my patience dissolving. You might be surprised what I contributed. She laughed. Actually laughed. What, moral support? Fatherly advice? Something like that. Please, Michael told me about your relationship, how you were never around when he was growing up, too busy with your factory job again. And then suddenly, when he becomes successful, you show up wanting to play grandfather. Amanda tied the garbage bag shut. It's pathetic. Pathetic. Yes, pathetic. She faced me directly. You live in poverty while your son built an empire. That tells me everything I need to know about your contribution to his success. The room went very quiet. Outside, I could hear neighborhood kids playing in someone's yard. Normal life continuing while mine fell apart. What do you think you know about TechBridge? I know Michael started it in 1998. I know he grew it from 0 to $55 million. I know every major decision came from his brain. Every major decision. Stop repeating, me. Amanda's face flushed red. It's like talking to a broken record. What about the initial investment? What about it? Where did Michael get the money to start the company? Amanda hesitated for just a second. He saved it, from his job at Intel. How much did he save? I don't know. Enough. $500. What? The initial investment in TechBridge Industries was $500. That's what it cost to file the incorporation papers and rent a workspace. So a recent college graduate with student loans doesn't usually have $500 lying around. Amanda's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying you might want to check your facts before you start throwing away history. My facts are fine. Michael was self-made. Self-made. I picked up another photo from the box. Michael at 24, standing in my garage next to his first prototype. This is interesting. What is it? Michael in 1998. Looks like someone's garage. Amanda grabbed the photo, studied it. So, maybe he rented garage space. Maybe, I smiled. Or maybe someone let him use theirs for free. Someone like who? Someone who believed in his idea. You? Amanda's laugh was sharp. You helped him with his computer company? You don't even own a smartphone. I own a smartphone. A flip phone doesn't count. I pulled my iPhone from my pocket. Latest model. This one count? She stared at it like I'd produced a magic wand. Where did you get that? I bought it. With what money? You're supposed to be broke. Am I? Something shifted in her expression. Uncertainty creeping in around the edges of her certainty. You're trying to confuse me. I'm trying to educate you. About what? About making assumptions. I put the phone away. About being so sure you know someone's story. I know Michael's story. Do you? Yes. Then tell me about the first contract. What first contract? The one that saved the company. June 2000. TechBridge was 3 months from bankruptcy. Amanda's face went blank. I don't know what you're talking about. The contract with Dataflow Systems, $125,000. Michael was 26 years old and had no business connections. He networked. He was good at sales. He was terrible at sales. Still is. Was. The correction hurt. Someone else made that connection. Who? Someone who'd been in the industry for 30 years. You? Maybe. You're lying. Am I? Yes. You're some old man trying to take credit for your son's success. Or maybe, I said quietly, you're some young woman who never bothered to learn her husband's real story. Amanda's hands were shaking now. Get out. I'm not finished here. Get out of my house. This was Michael's house. It's my house now. Everything here is mine. We'll see about that. She stepped closer. Is that a threat? It's a fact. What fact? That ownership isn't always what it appears to be. What the hell does that mean? I walked toward the door, then turned back. It means you might want to read the fine print before you start spending that $55 million. There is no fine print. I inherit everything. Everything Michael owned, which is everything. Is it? And I left her standing there in that office, surrounded by garbage bags full of memories she didn't understand, wondering what she'd missed. The first seed was planted the next morning. I was making coffee in my studio apartment, instant coffee, nothing fancy, when my phone rang. The caller ID said S. Williams Law. David, it's Sarah. Sarah Williams. We'd known each other for 25 years, ever since she'd helped me incorporate TechBridge. She'd watched the company grow from a garage startup to a major player. She'd also watched me step into the shadows when Michael was ready to take the spotlight. Sarah, how are you holding up? I should be asking you that question. Her voice was gentle. I heard about the meeting with Amanda's lawyer. News travels fast. It's a small legal community. Patricia Morrison called me yesterday. I stirred my coffee slowly. And? She wanted to confirm some details about Michael's ownership in TechBridge. What kind of details? Whether there were any other shareholders she should know about. I almost smiled. What did you tell her? I told her she should probably research the corporate structure more carefully before making assumptions. Good advice. David, we need to talk. There's a board meeting scheduled for Friday. Emergency session. Emergency? Amanda's trying to claim Michael's board seat. She thinks inheriting his 33% gives her voting rights. The irony was delicious. Does it? You know it doesn't. But she doesn't know that yet. How long until she figures it out? Depends how thorough her research is. Could be days, could be weeks. And if she attends the board meeting, she'll get quite an education. After I hung up, I found myself holding one of Michael's old business cards. I'd discovered it in my jacket pocket the day before. TechBridge Industries. Michael Johnson, Chief Executive Officer. The card was from 2010, back when we'd switched to the new logo design. I remembered the day we'd picked that logo. Michael wanted something modern, sleek. I'd suggested the bridge symbol, connecting different worlds, building pathways between complex problems and simple solutions. He'd loved it immediately, but what I remembered most was what Michael had written on the back of my copy of that business card. Thanks for believing in the dream before anyone else did. I still had that card, kept it in my wallet. The second seed came that afternoon. I was checking my mail when Mrs. Rodriguez from next door stopped me in the hallway. She was carrying a package that had been delivered to the wrong address. This came to my apartment by mistake, Mr. Johnson. The return address read TechBridge Industries Corporate Affairs Department. Mrs. Rodriguez squinted at the label. You still do work for that computer company? Consulting, I said. Nothing major. Must be something important. They send you mail every month. Every month. Board meeting minutes, financial reports, strategic planning documents, all the paperwork that comes with being the majority shareholder in a $190 million company. But Mrs. Rodriguez didn't need to know that. Just routine stuff, I told her. That evening, Amanda called. Her voice was tight, controlled. I found something today. Oh? Going through Michael's desk. Old business cards with your name on them. Is that unusual? They say TechBridge Industries, with your name. Michael gave me some cards over the years. Sentimental value. These aren't Michael's cards. They have your name printed on them. I paused. And I want to know why my husband's company was printing business cards for his unemployed father. Maybe you should ask TechBridge that question. Maybe I will. Good idea. In fact, you should probably attend that board meeting on Friday. What board meeting? The emergency session. I'm sure they'd love to meet Michael's widow. How do you know about a board meeting? I still get the company newsletter. Old habits. What company newsletter? Never mind. You should definitely attend that meeting, Amanda. Are you telling me what to do? I'm telling you what you need to do if you want answers. The line went quiet for a long moment. David, what aren't you telling me? Everything, I said. But Friday, you'll start learning. Michael's memorial service was held at the Fairmont Hotel in San Jose. 200 people attended, colleagues from TechBridge, clients, family friends, business partners from across Silicon Valley. Amanda had planned everything. Open bar, catered dinner, a slideshow of Michael's life projected on 3 large screens. The whole event probably cost $15,000. She'd also planned to give a speech, the main speech, the widow's tribute to her brilliant husband. I sat in the back row wearing my only decent suit, a 20-year-old navy blue from Men's Warehouse. Around me, tech executives in $2,000 outfits networked over champagne and salmon canapes. The formal program began at 7 p.m. Amanda walked to the podium in a stunning black dress, probably designer, definitely expensive. She looked beautiful and grieving and completely in control. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate Michael's life. The room fell silent. 200 people focused on her words. Michael was an extraordinary man, a visionary, someone who saw possibilities where others saw problems. Her voice carried perfectly through the sound system, but what made Michael truly special was that he did it all himself. I shifted in my seat. Here we go. When Michael started TechBridge Industries in 1998, he had nothing. No family money, no business connections, no safety net. Amanda's eyes swept the audience. Just a brilliant idea, and the determination to make it work. Polite applause rippled through the room. I watched him build this company from absolutely nothing, 18-hour days, sleeping in his office, making cold calls to potential clients who wouldn't return his messages. Her voice grew stronger. He carried every burden himself because he had to, because there was no one else. My coffee cup rattled against its saucer. I set it down carefully. Michael taught me that true success comes from self-reliance, from refusing to depend on others. Amanda's gaze found mine across the room. He showed me that excuses are easy, but results require sacrifice. The audience was riveted. This was the Silicon Valley origin story they all loved. The brilliant founder who built an empire through pure willpower. Some people spend their whole lives making excuses, blaming circumstances, waiting for someone else to solve their problems. Amanda's voice turned slightly harder. Michael wasn't one of those people. He took responsibility for his own success. I felt the heat rising in my chest. Around me, people were nodding approvingly. And that's why TechBridge Industries is thriving today, because it was built on a foundation of personal accountability and individual achievement. Amanda paused for effect. Michael never asked for handouts. He never expected others to carry his weight. He never relied on charity or sympathy to get ahead. Charity, sympathy. The words hit like physical blows. He was completely self-made. Everything he achieved, he earned through his own efforts and his own talents. Amanda's smile was radiant. That's the legacy he left behind. That's what I want everyone to remember about my husband. The applause was thunderous. People were actually standing. A standing ovation for the self-made genius who built TechBridge from nothing. I remained seated. As the applause died down, Amanda continued. I know Michael would want me to thank everyone who supported TechBridge over the years. Our clients, our investors, our board members who believed in his vision. She began reading names from a prepared list. Major clients, angel investors, board members. James Anderson, our board chairman. James raised his hand from the front row. More applause. Elizabeth Brown, our CFO, who's been with us since the early days. Elizabeth stood and waved. More applause. Sarah Williams, our corporate attorney and longtime advisor. Sarah nodded from her table. But she didn't wave. She was looking at me with concern. And of course, all the TechBridge employees who made Michael's vision a reality. Amanda folded her speech notes. Michael always said that success is a team sport, but he also knew that every team needs a leader, someone willing to take ultimate responsibility. Someone who won't make excuses when things get difficult. Another pause. Another meaningful look in my direction. Michael was that leader. He never passed the buck. He never blamed others for his challenges. He never expected anyone else to solve his problems or support his dreams. The room was completely silent now. Everyone hanging on her words. I think we can all learn from Michael's example. In a world full of people who expect handouts and make excuses, he stood apart. He took care of himself and his family through his own hard work and intelligence. My hands were clenched in my lap. So when you remember Michael Johnson, Remember this. He was a man who built something from nothing. A man who never asked for help and never needed it. A man who proved that in America, if you work hard enough and dream big enough, you can achieve anything. The final applause lasted nearly 2 minutes. People were wiping away tears. Someone shouted, "Bravo!" from the middle of the room. Amanda beamed at the response. She'd delivered exactly the speech she'd intended, a tribute to her self-made husband that happened to destroy his apparently worthless father in front of 200 witnesses. As people began moving toward the reception area, several approached me with sympathetic looks. "David, I'm so sorry for your loss," said Patricia Chen from marketing. "Michael was such a special young man," added Robert Miller from accounting. They meant well, but I could see the pity in their eyes. The poor old father whose successful son had apparently achieved everything without help from anyone, especially his own family. Then James Anderson appeared beside my chair, the board chairman, 61 years old, silver hair, 30 years in tech leadership. "David, can I speak with you privately?" We found a quiet corner near the hotel bar. "That was quite a speech," James said. "Yes, it was. Interesting version of company history. Very creative." James sipped his scotch. "She really doesn't know, does she?" "Apparently not." "Are you going to tell her?" I watched Amanda across the room, accepting condolences and compliments on her beautiful tribute. She was glowing with satisfaction. I think she's going to figure it out on her own. "When?" "Soon?" James nodded slowly. "The board meeting's tomorrow." "I know. She's planning to attend. Wants to claim Michael's seat." "So I heard. Should be educational. For everyone involved." James finished his scotch. "David, for what it's worth, I think you've been incredibly patient. Patience is a virtue. So is justice." I looked around the room, at all the people who just heard how Michael built TechBridge completely alone, at Amanda receiving praise for her moving tribute to her self-made husband, at the memorial to my son that had somehow become a celebration of his independence from his useless father. "Justice," I said quietly, "is coming." The TechBridge Industries board meeting was held in Conference Room A on the 15th floor of the Palo Alto Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Stanford campus where Michael had first conceived his revolutionary data processing algorithm. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing the same Navy suit from the memorial service. The security guard recognized me immediately. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Conference Room A?" "That's right, Marcus. Coffee will be ready in 5 minutes." Marcus had been working security in this building for 8 years. He'd watched TechBridge grow from 3 employees to over 200. He'd seen me attend dozens of board meetings, always arriving early, always taking the same seat at the end of the mahogany table. But Amanda didn't know any of that. She arrived 10 minutes later with Patricia Morrison, her lawyer. Amanda wore a sharp business suit, probably Armani, definitely expensive. She looked like she belonged in a boardroom. She looked like someone who understood corporate power. She looked completely confident. "Excuse me," Amanda said to Marcus. "We're here for the TechBridge board meeting." "Of course, Mrs. Johnson. Conference Room A. Mr. Johnson is already here." Amanda's step faltered slightly. "Mr. Johnson?" "Yes, ma'am. He's waiting inside." I watched through the glass as Amanda and Patricia approached the conference room. Amanda's face showed confusion, then annoyance. She probably thought I was crashing the meeting, some desperate attempt to stay relevant. She pushed open the door. "David, what are you doing here?" "Attending the board meeting. This is a closed meeting, for board members only." "I know." Patricia stepped forward. "Mr. Johnson, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This meeting is for TechBridge Industries shareholders and board members." "That's correct. So you'll need to leave." "Will I?" At exactly 9 a.m., the other board members began arriving. James Anderson came first, followed by Elizabeth Brown, then 3 other executives I'd worked with for over a decade. Each one greeted me with familiarity. "Morning, David. Good to see you. How are you holding up?" Amanda watched these interactions with growing bewilderment. Patricia whispered something in her ear. Sarah Williams arrived last, carrying a leather briefcase that I recognized. She'd brought the corporate documents. "Good morning, everyone." Sarah took her seat at the table. "I think we can begin." James Anderson called the meeting to order. "Thank you all for attending this emergency session. We're here to discuss a claim made by Mrs. Amanda Davis Johnson regarding TechBridge Industries corporate governance." Amanda straightened in her chair. "That's right. As Michael's widow, I'm inheriting his 33% ownership stake in the company. I want to claim his board seat and voting rights." "I see." James made a note on his legal pad. "And you believe this inheritance gives you control over Michael's shares?" "Yes. My lawyer has reviewed the estate documents." "Patricia Morrison, right? From Morrison and Associates?" Patricia nodded. "That's correct. Mrs. Johnson has clear legal right to her late husband's assets." "Including his TechBridge stock?" "Including everything." James looked around the table. "Does anyone have questions about this claim?" Elizabeth Brown raised her hand. "I do. Mrs. Johnson, do you understand TechBridge's corporate structure?" "What do you mean?" "How ownership is distributed, who the major shareholders are." Amanda glanced at Patricia. "Michael owned 33%. That makes him the largest shareholder." "Does it?" "Yes, obviously." Elizabeth opened her folder. "According to our most recent filings, TechBridge Industries has 3 major shareholders." "3? Michael Johnson owned 33%, as you stated." Elizabeth's voice was professionally neutral. "TechBridge Ventures owns 20%. That's our employee stock option pool." "Okay. And DWJ Holdings owns 67%. The room went very quiet. Amanda looked confused. "DWJ Holdings? Who's that?" "That," Sarah said gently, "is an excellent question." She opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "These are the original TechBridge Incorporation documents, filed with the state of California on March 15, 1998. Amanda leaned forward. "What do they say?" "They list the founding shareholders and their equity stakes." Sarah spread several documents across the table. TechBridge Industries was founded by 2 people, Michael Johnson, who contributed his technical expertise and received 33% of the company, and David William Johnson, who contributed the initial $500 investment, the garage workspace, the first client referrals, and the strategic business plan. He received 67% of the company. The silence was deafening. Amanda stared at the documents. "David William Johnson?" "DWJ Holdings is David's holding company," Sarah explained. "He's been the majority shareholder of TechBridge Industries for 26 years. "That's impossible." "Is it?" James Anderson pulled out his own folder. "I've been board chairman here for 15 years. David recruited me personally in 2009. "But David is—" Amanda struggled for words. "He's nobody." "Nobody?" "He lives in a $1,200 apartment. He drives a 15-year-old Honda. He shops at Goodwill." Elizabeth smiled. "David has always lived modestly. It's one of his most admirable qualities. But he's poor." "Is he?" Sarah pulled out another document. "This is DWJ Holdings' most recent financial statement. Total assets, approximately $230 million. Amanda's face went white. 200. TechBridge represents about 80% of his portfolio. He has significant investments in real estate, municipal bonds, and other tech startups. Patricia Morrison looked like she'd been slapped. "This can't be right." "Which part?" James asked. "David Johnson is a retiree. He worked in manufacturing. He has no business background." "Actually," Elizabeth said, "David has a master's degree in computer science from Stanford. Class of 1979. He worked for IBM for 12 years before starting TechBridge." "IBM?" "Senior systems architect. He held 14 patents before he was 35. Amanda was shaking her head. No. Michael told me his father was a factory worker." "Michael told you what David asked him to say," Sarah explained. "David values his privacy. He preferred to let Michael be the public face of the company." "But why?" "Because," I said quietly, "I built TechBridge to be Michael's legacy, not mine." Everyone looked at me. I'd been silent for the entire presentation, letting the documents speak for themselves. "I created this company so my son could have something meaningful to build on, something bigger than himself." I met Amanda's eyes. "Michael was a brilliant CEO, but he was never self-made." "You're lying." "Am I?" I pulled out my own folder. These are emails between Michael and myself from 2010 to 2024. Strategic decisions, client relationships, major business pivots. Michael made the public presentations, but we made the important decisions together. Amanda grabbed one of the emails. Her eyes scanned frantically. This says you approved the merger with DataSync." "I did. It was a bad deal. Michael wanted to do it anyway. And here," she grabbed another paper, "you're advising him on the personnel restructuring in 2019. 43 people lost their jobs. I told him there were better options. And this one," her voice was getting higher, "you're discussing the IPO decision in 2022. I advised against going public. Michael agreed. We stayed private. Amanda looked around the table desperately. But he never said, because I asked him not to, I said. I wanted him to have his own identity, his own achievements. I just wanted to help quietly. Help! You own 67%. I do. You're the boss. I'm the majority shareholder. Michael was the CEO. There's a difference. Patricia Morrison finally found her voice. This changes everything. Does it? Sarah asked. How so? Mrs. Johnson's inheritance claim. If Michael only owned 33%, and if major corporate decisions require majority approval, then Amanda inherits Michael's 33%, I said. But she doesn't inherit control of the company. Because you have 67%. Because I have 67%. Amanda's breathing was shallow. You've been lying to me for 5 years. I've been respecting my son's wishes for 5 years. He let me believe. He let you believe what you wanted to believe. That his father was a nobody. That his father was humble. She looked around the room at all the board members, all the people who'd known the truth for years while she'd made herself look foolish. The memorial speech, she whispered, was very moving, James said diplomatically. I said Michael was self-made. You did. In front of 200 people. Yes, including all of you. We were there. Amanda put her head in her hands. Oh my God, for the first time since Michael's funeral, I felt something other than grief, not satisfaction exactly, not revenge, something closer to justice. Amanda, I said gently, there's something else we need to discuss. She looked up. What? Your inheritance. Your inheritance, I repeated, isn't what you think it is. Amanda raised her head slowly. Her makeup had smudged slightly, but her voice was steady. What do you mean? Sarah Williams pulled out another document. This is Michael's will, dated January 15th of this year, 2 months before his death. I've read the will. Have you? All of it? Patricia Morrison reached for the document. May I? Of course. Sarah slid it across the table. Page 3, Section 7. Patricia flipped through the pages, her eyes scanning quickly. Oh, what? Amanda demanded. What does it say? It says... Patricia's voice was careful, professional. It says that Michael's TechBridge shares are subject to a trust provision. What kind of trust provision? His 33% ownership transfers to a family trust. The trust is administered by the majority shareholder until Michael's children reach age 25. Amanda went very still. The majority shareholder. That would be me, I said quietly. You control Michael's shares? I control the trust that holds Michael's shares, for Tommy's benefit. For how long? 20 years until Tommy turns 25. The room was silent except for the sound of Amanda's breathing. So I inherit nothing? You inherit Michael's personal assets, Sarah clarified. The house, the cars, his investment accounts. About $3.2 million. 3.2, not 8.2. The 8.2 included the estimated value of his TechBridge shares, but those go into trust. Amanda stared at the will. He knew. Michael knew what he was doing. He did. He planned this. We planned this, I corrected. Together, in January, after you made some comments about wanting to cash out his TechBridge position. What comments? You told him you thought he should sell his shares and invest in real estate, something more stable. Amanda's face flushed. That was just a conversation. It was a conversation that worried him. TechBridge was his life's work. He didn't want it sold off for investment properties. Patricia Morrison cleared her throat. Mrs. Johnson, there's another issue we need to discuss. What now? The estate debt you mentioned in our meeting, the $600,000 in legal and medical expenses. What about it? If the TechBridge shares don't transfer to you, then your proportional responsibility for the debt changes. Amanda looked confused. How? You're only responsible for debt proportional to your inheritance. If you're inheriting $3.2 million instead of $8.2 million, then my debt responsibility drops from $37,000 to about $14,000, I finished. $14,000. Roughly. Amanda slumped in her chair. So I inherit less money and owe less debt. That's correct. And you control 67% of TechBridge plus Michael's 33% in trust. For the next 20 years. And Tommy gets Michael's shares when he turns 25. He does. What if I contest this? What if I challenge the will? Sarah and Patricia exchanged glances. Sarah spoke first. You could try, but trust provisions are difficult to overturn, especially when they're designed to benefit minor children. And, Patricia added reluctantly, challenging the will would be expensive, probably more expensive than the inheritance you'd be fighting for. How expensive? Legal fees for a complex estate challenge? Probably $200,000 to $300,000, with no guarantee of success. Amanda did the math in her head. Spend $300,000 to maybe win back $2 million, minus legal costs, minus court fees, minus years of stress. That's not a good investment, she said finally. No, Patricia agreed. It's not. I leaned forward. Amanda, there's something else. She looked at me with exhausted eyes. More bad news. Actually, this might be good news, depending on your perspective. I'm listening. The trust includes provisions for Tommy's care and education. Private school, college tuition, medical expenses, extracurricular activities. How much? Up to $200,000 per year until he's 18. $200,000? For Tommy's benefit, not for you. But I'm his guardian. You are. And the trust will pay for legitimate child-rearing expenses, but you can't use trust money for your own purposes. Amanda processed this. So Tommy gets taken care of. Very well taken care of. And I get $3.2 million. Minus debts and taxes, yes. And you get control of a $190 million company. I already had control of the company. She was quiet for a long moment. Around the table, board members waited patiently for her response. Can I ask you something, David? Of course. Why didn't you just tell me? All this time, why let me think you were some broke old man? I considered the question carefully. Because I wanted to see what kind of person you really were. And now I know. What kind of person am I? The kind who kicks a grieving father out of his son's funeral. The kind who tries to steal a grandson from his grandfather. The kind who gives speeches about self-made success while planning to cash out a company she didn't build. Amanda flinched. That's harsh. It's honest. So what happens now? Now you have a choice. You can accept the inheritance as structured, maintain a respectful relationship with me for Tommy's sake, and move forward with your life. Or you can fight this in court, spend years in litigation, destroy any chance of a relationship with your son's family, and probably end up with less money than you'd get by accepting the will. Amanda looked around the table one more time. Every face was neutral, professional, waiting for her decision. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, I said. But Amanda? Yes? I'll be seeing Tommy this weekend, and next weekend, and every weekend after that. Understood. Good. The meeting was over. The consequences came swiftly. By Monday morning, word had spread through Silicon Valley's tight-knit community. Amanda's memorial speech, the one about Michael being completely self-made, was being discussed in coffee shops and boardrooms across the valley. Sarah Williams called me Tuesday afternoon. Have you seen the TechCrunch article? What article? The hidden founder, David Johnson's 26-year secret. They interviewed James Anderson and Elizabeth Brown. I found the article online. The headline read, Silicon Valley's most modest billionaire finally steps out of the shadows. Below that, a photo of me from the memorial service, sitting quietly in the back row while Amanda gave her speech about Michael's self-made success. The article was fair, focusing on my preference for privacy and my decision to let Michael be the public face of TechBridge. But it also included several quotes from the memorial service. Amanda's words about Michael never needing help, never relying on others, building everything from nothing. The comment section was brutal. She literally called the company founder a charity case at his son's funeral. Imagine being that wrong about your own husband's family. This is why you do research before giving speeches. By Wednesday, Amanda had been let go from her part-time consulting job at a Palo Alto marketing firm. Her supervisor called it a mutual decision based on changing business needs. Everyone knew the real reason. No one wanted to work with someone who'd publicly humiliated a respected tech founder. Thursday, I got a call from Tommy's preschool. Mr. Johnson, this is Linda Martinez, Tommy's teacher. Is everything okay? Oh, yes, Tommy's fine. But his mother called this morning. She wanted to withdraw him from our program. Withdraw him? She said they might be moving. Something about a fresh start in another state. Connecticut. Amanda was still planning to take Tommy 3,000 miles away. Linda, can I ask you to do me a favor? Of course. Can you delay processing that withdrawal for a few days? I'm Tommy's grandfather, and there might be some family discussions needed before any big decisions. Absolutely. We'll hold off on any paperwork. Friday morning, I drove to Amanda's house. The Tesla was gone. A realtor's sign had appeared on the front lawn. For sale by owner. Amanda answered the door in sweatpants and a Stanford t-shirt, probably Michael's. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "David, I wondered when you'd show up. Can we talk?" She stepped aside to let me in. The house was half-packed, boxes everywhere, furniture covered with sheets. "You're really leaving? What choice do I have?" Amanda collapsed onto the covered sofa. "Everyone knows. The whole valley knows I stood up at Michael's memorial and made a complete fool of myself. People forget. Do they? My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Reporters, old colleagues, people I haven't talked to in years, all wanting to know how I could be so wrong about my own husband's family." I sat down across from her. "And what do you tell them?" "That I'm an idiot, that I never bothered to learn my husband's real story." Her voice was flat, defeated. "That I was so focused on the lifestyle and the money that I never asked the important questions." "Amanda." "No, it's true. You know what the worst part is?" Michael tried to tell me, so many times. "Tell you what?" "About you, about TechBridge, about where the company really came from." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. He'd start to explain something about the early days, and I'd change the subject. I wasn't interested in history. I was interested in the future. The future you could buy with his success. "Yes," she looked directly at me. "I was a gold digger, David. Not when I married him. I really did love him. But over time I started loving the money more than the man. The honesty was unexpected and painful." "What changed?" "Watching you at that board meeting, seeing how everyone respected you, understanding that the company I thought was Michael's was actually yours." She laughed bitterly, realizing that the broke old man I'd been insulting was the most successful person in the room. Success isn't just about money. I know that now. Too late, but I know it. It's not too late for Tommy. Yes, it is. I've already destroyed his relationship with you. What 5-year-old wants to spend time with the grandfather his mother has been trash-talking for years? Children are more forgiving than adults. "Are they?" I pulled out an envelope from my jacket pocket. "This came in yesterday's mail." Amanda opened it carefully. Inside was a hand-drawn picture, a stick figure of a little boy holding hands with a taller stick figure labeled Grandpa David. At the bottom, in careful kindergarten handwriting, "I miss you." "Tommy drew this in school," I said. "His teacher thought I should see it." Amanda stared at the drawing, tears flowing freely now. "He loves you, Amanda. Despite everything, he loves you, and he needs his grandfather." "So what do we do?" "We start over. You, me, and Tommy. No lawyers, no board meetings, no speeches, just family. I don't know how. Neither do I. But we figure it out together." 6 months later, Amanda canceled the house sale. We worked it out slowly, carefully. She stayed in California. Tommy stayed in his preschool. I saw him every Saturday afternoon, and we slowly rebuilt what should have been there all along. Amanda never apologized directly for the memorial speech or the board meeting or the years of condescension. But she did something better. She started asking questions about Michael's childhood, about TechBridge's early days, about my years at IBM and the patents I'd filed in the garage where it all began. She started learning her husband's real story. And gradually, Tommy started learning mine. Last weekend I taught him how to write simple code on my laptop. He's only 5, but he has Michael's mind for logic and patterns. Watching him figure out how to make the computer draw a star on the screen, I saw 3 generations of problem solvers in his focused expression. Amanda was there too, asking questions about the programming concepts, taking notes like she was studying for an exam. "I should have learned this years ago," she said as Tommy successfully ran his first program. "You're learning it now," I replied. "That's what matters." Some people think respect is inherited. Others think it's bought. I've learned that respect is earned, one honest conversation at a time. The only boundary I keep now is this. My grandson will grow up knowing his real family history. All of it. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Sometimes the most powerful foundations are built in silence.